The fight that was proposed for this coming Saturday, October 30th, between heavyweights Dillian Whyte and Otto Wallin from the O2 Arena in London had been canceled. The reasoning behind this, allegedly, is Whyte pulling out due to a shoulder injury. We haven't known Dillian Whyte to pull out of fights before, and this particular situation seems weird the closer that you look at it. Whyte recently gave an interview where he talked about this, and we'll go over that interview and pick this out and see what's really under the surface. What happened to Whyte versus Wallin? As we talk about this fight, this was one of the few fights that would have been a part of Dillian Whyte's career, the showdown against Otto Wallin, to really test Whyte's mettle. He's been fighting a succession of fighters that don't necessarily really belong in the ring with him. There have been hand-picked opponents in the past. There have been fighters who did not come to win. There were paydays. There were guys that would lay down once they got the opportunity to have their payday. This isn't entirely Whyte's fault. He has been a pawn in the greater scheme of things in the heavyweight division, that you can now see how Matchroom Boxing has been moving. Their client, Anthony Joshua, was the meal ticket, and Dillian Whyte was groomed to be the placeholder. See, a placeholder in the sport of boxing in this type of circumstance could be insurance. In the event that something happened to AJ, Whyte could step in and fill a void. Remember, they had a very close fight a few years ago where Dillian was stopped by AJ. I think it was around the 8th round or so in their fight. But he had hurt AJ early in the fight and had AJ staggering from a big left hook. Two young British fighters that the division could see either ascend toward the possibilities of championship royalty or become journeymen or placeholders. In this instance, that's what Whyte became. But think about it. As long as AJ, who seems to lose his title every other fight now, is in a situation where he's threatened or he doesn't come through, then Whyte is that placeholder. We recently saw Tyson Fury defeat Deontay Wilder in their third match, where he stopped Wilder in the, the 10th or 11th round. And that was a knockdown drag out between those two fighters. But Dillian Whyte, who had campaigned to be the WBC #1 contender, who had been griping, who had been making sound bites when Wilder, who was originally the WBC champion before facing Tyson Fury, had told him, if you want this fight when you're not the #1 contender, when you're not a mandatory, fight Dominic Brazil. I'll give you a shot. You beat Brazil. You got to beat somebody. Whyte refused. And the interesting aspect of that is his opponent for this coming Saturday was going to be Otto Wallin. Okay? Now, Otto Wallin fought Dominique Breazeale. Not only did he fight Dominique Breazeale, he also fought Tyson Fury. Yes, the current WBC champion, Tyson Fury, Otto Wallin fought him. Now, what does that mean? That means that there's a possibility that Otto Wallin has a greater stake toward being a representative in the place holding spot that Whyte finds himself, since he hadn't fought either Breazeale, who at that time, when Wilder suggested that they face one another, be a top-rated fighter, that Whyte can show his wares, that he deserves the title shot. Now, because he refused to take that fight, Deontay Wilder told him, you're just going to have to wait. So, Otto Wallin steps in and he defeats Dominique Breazeale. The fight he had with Fury was a close fight and could have been stopped on cuts had it not been Tyson Fury, the one who was bleeding. Any other fighter, the referee calls that fight. But even in this photo shot that you see here, where he's sticking his jab into the mug of a battered Dominique Breazeale, Otto Wallin has proven himself to be a tough cookie. Is he championship quality material? Who knows? But if anyone deserves that right, it's he. And the fact that Whyte was going to face him, I think the consensus was, you know what? This guy is dangerous. We may not want to go ahead with this fight. So Matchroom and Hearn pull the plug on that fight. But this is what they tried to say. Dillian Whyte has a shoulder injury. Now, as many times as he's come to the ring out of shape, woefully out of shape at times, the one thing that hadn't been attributed to Whyte is being injured or hurt leading up to or even after a fight. That's why we have to question what's really being brought to the forefront here. So in his recent interview, Dillian Whyte speaks about the situation where he pulls out of this fight. We'll hear directly coming from him.
Sport, Mr. Dillian Whyte. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good. Bit frustrated, but good.
I can imagine. Listen, we've got lots to talk about, which is going to obviously include dogs on treadmills at some point in this conversation. You know how I roll in these interviews, mate. We're going to get stuck into a bit of that. But first and foremost, obviously, we've got to tackle what's happening next weekend or what is not happening next weekend. You were scheduled to fight Otto Wallin. So you take the floor, my friend. Tell me what has happened.
Nothing. I was training. I was ready. I was prepared. And obviously, spent a fortune in training camp. You know, I see Wallin's complaining he spent 20,000 or something. I was like, well, try spending 6 times the amount of that in my training camp. You know what I mean? You know, people saying I pull out because of whatever reason. If that was the case, why would I have 4 sparring partners here paying out of pull out 3 weeks ago whenever the ruling?
Listen to the guy making excuses already. First, he mentions that Otto Wallin complains about paying $20,000 for his training camp and everything. He says he pays 6 times that. Well, maybe that's because you've made a little bit more money, Dillian Whyte, than Otto Wallin. But that's a huge amount of money for he who is still on the come up and hasn't had the opportunities that Whyte has had to be on televised events, showcase events, and have a large promoter behind him like Matchroom. Then he goes on to say that he had these people in his camp for particular fighters or whatever, and if he wanted to pull out, he could have pulled out weeks ago. As long as you don't make the fight date, Dillian Whyte, you can pull out. We've seen fighters pull out the day of the fight. Huh? Anybody remember Terry Norris and Simon Brown? That fight was supposed to take place on HBO, and just hours before the ring walks and entrances, hey, the fight was canceled. HBO went live to say that they had no fight for that evening. Unforgettable. It can happen. So when Dillian Whyte says what he says, he's ridiculing Otto Wallin, who needs the payday, by the way, and he's bigging himself up, which really begs to question exactly what's going on here. You see, you have to read the words of a person and be able to comprehend what's being said. The man didn't want this fight. He didn't want it. And so he pulled out. But let's get back and hear more of what he had to say.
Since I'm saying that I have the guys here, my whole team's here. I think people just started going home yesterday, you know what I mean? Because obviously we suffered the injury, you know, I wanted to fight, and obviously the guys, obviously that's why you got professional people in your team, people who's use their brain, I use my balls and my muscle, you know what I mean? You know, and these guys are the brain guys and the surgeons and the doctors, and they told me, you know, if you fight, you're gonna risk your career, so, you know, what else am I gonna do?
It's a shoulder.
He's going to risk his career. Let's stop right there for a moment. Is he going to risk his career due to the injury? Because remember, medicine has advanced tremendously over the past 25 to 30 years. When fighters get injured, detached retinas, broken hands, elbows, rotator cuffs, all of these things that can happen to a professional fighter, jaw, nose, orbital bones. A lot of career-threatening injuries that modern medicine has been able to keep these guys ready to roll out for the next event. But is it possible that Mr. Otto Wallin could have been the one who could harm the career of Dillian Whyte? Yeah, maybe. But is that something he would admit to? Absolutely not. And by the way, Wallin is younger than Dillian Whyte, who seemingly likes to fight older guys who are at the end of their careers, long in the tooth, as they say, except for if your name is Luis King Kong Ortiz. Then the excuse is just he's old, not that he's good and old. Think about it. So when this man is saying what he's saying, he's telling on himself. He's telling the truth. You have to pay attention more.
Injury, yeah. What's
yeah?
Have you? Is it your rotator cuff? Is that what you've torn or something?
No, you know, obviously I'm not sure. You know, I don't want to go into too much details about it, but obviously there'll be a full statement and stuff go out and explain everything. You know.
Okay.
Wow. Did you hear that, people? He says there will be a full report of disclosure, but he doesn't want to go into it at this time. If you're injured, you're freaking injured. Tell the truth. But if it's going to take people to come up with something to explain what happened, then that's what's going to be. But right now, they've told him, just keep your trap shut until we come up with something. Because I believe the Wallin camp is asking for proof of injury. And if he cannot provide that, we have a situation here. Think about it. A lot of fights have been postponed, canceled, rescheduled due to the world pandemic situation. And a lot of fights have been under those auspices with the world pandemic situation as an excuse. But these people said that he's injured. I don't see any problem with Wallin wanting to know proof of circumstances, because he should be financially compensated. And remember, the fight has been canceled, not rescheduled, not postponed. Huh?
Do you have a prognosis of length of time of how long you're going to be out for and when you can actually get back into the gym and start training?
Well, I can't really do no real training for the next 6 weeks or so. So, just recovering and taking it easy. You know what I mean? I've been training for a long time. As well, I've been training for the longest. You know what I mean? So that could be part to do with it as well. But
you've been training for at least 6 weeks. You said you can come back within 6 weeks. What's going on here? You see, the more that he talks, the more that he tells on himself. Dillian Whyte pulled out of this fight because he wants to guarantee that shot at Tyson Fury, who's not guaranteed to hold on to the title. He may retire. Something may happen in between now and a fight early next year. But you can not bank on Tyson Fury. You have to roll with the flow when it comes to him. So what if going into this fight, Wallin really had a chance to upset Dillian Whyte? Because that's what it would be considered, an upset. Is it something that the powers that be recognize in the 11th hour? Yeah. Especially when people start talking about, man, I don't know, this Wallin guy might get Dillian Whyte because he's not Alexander Povetkin, huh? And we saw what Povetkin was able to do to Dillian Whyte, huh? We saw it. We saw it as clear as day. Povetkin stretched Dillian Whyte flat on his behind. Wallin is an active fighter. He throws volume of punches and he's gutsy. He's strong. He's about the same size as Dillian Whyte, but he's younger. Sometimes the keys are right in front of you. All you have to do is pay attention. Let's listen to more of what Mr. Whyte had to say. And I guarantee you, the more he talks, the more revealing.
probably I won't be able to do any real training for 6 weeks, but I'm still ticking over, still obviously doing lower body stuff, and obviously I can't afford to just sit around and just lose everything, all the gains I've made these last few months,
Like you said, a frustrating time for you, especially with what is on the horizon. Activity's key, and you're a fighter that likes that activity. You like to be out there, you like to be doing your thing. So incredibly frustrating that you're not out there next week to be able to do something against a name that a lot of people know.
I love to fight. I didn't have to fight Arthur Wallin, but we went and picked him. Arthur Wallin was handpicked. I just picked him because people say now he's dangerous and he's this and he's done that to Fury, but I think he's garbage. And I was looking to stop him in the first 6-7 rounds, to be honest. Obviously, just because of activity and just the fact that, okay, cut Tyson Fury, but he didn't really show no real ambition in the fight, no real winner's mentality, because with a cut like that, he could have done everything he could to get it stopped. You know what I mean? Fury came back and started beating him up and pressuring him in the late rounds. And that's why when the guy's saying I'm scared of him, I'm like, dude, I thought, you know, you pull out a fight with Lucas Brown, you know, I almost killed Lucas Brown. So why would I be scared to fight you? You know?
You'd be scared because this time he has full training camp to get ready for you, Dillian Whyte. And he's coming off of 2 experiences at a level of which he hadn't fought before, Tyson Fury and Dominique Breazeale. In both performances, he performed admirably, but with the Breazeale fight, he totally took Breazeale out. All that does for a fighter who hadn't been on that level before is bring them confidence in their abilities. The fact that the man said that he spent $20,000 for his preparation for this fight, those are the funds that he can afford. But with each successful outing, his payday and pay rate goes up. So here it was, a chance to come at you, and you decide to pull out, to cancel the fight, not postpone it. Remember, this is not rescheduled. The fight is just now off the table, which is why the Wallin people have valid reason to question what's really going on.
We know that Dillian's the interim WBC champion. He's been waiting 3 years, let's be honest, waiting 3 years to challenge for the title, while Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury have held the belt. COVID's held him up as well. And, you know, I was out with you, wasn't I, Dillian, in Portugal a week ago, and you and I spoke for half an hour about you preparing for Otto Wallin, and you said all those things that you always say, which is that I'm prepared to fight. I just want to fight. You're a warrior. We know you are. It's why you become box office. It's why we love you. Because you'll fight anyone, any place, any time. We know that about you.
My record shows it.
No, it doesn't. Luis King Kong Ortiz can attest to that. Dominique Breazeale can attest to that. Dillian Whyte has not wanted to fight any of the other top 10, top 5 fighters. For whatever reason, they wanted to throw him in there with Wilder. Maybe it's because they didn't respect Wilder's boxing skill, and they thought that he could get lucky in there with Wilder prior to the Tyson Fury trilogy. But this is the thing. What about the fighters that he could have faced? You haven't stepped up to the plate, Dillian Whyte. When you came to America, there were fighters over here chomping at the bit to get to you. Prince Charles Martin recently called you out. No reply from a man who has a soundbite every 5 minutes. You had nothing to say about Prince Charles Martin, the former IBF champion who was dethroned by Anthony Joshua for Joshua's first title. So, you're lying, Dillian Whyte. You're absolutely lying. We've seen what's happening. Matchroom even went to the lengths of signing King Kong Ortiz to a deal and shelving him to keep him inactive so they didn't have to worry about he facing either you or Anthony Joshua. A pity that things like this can happen in the sport of boxing today, when all that we want are the most quality of matches that can be made. So when you come about with something like this, it's disrespectful to the people that you would think that they would believe in those type of things. And your interviewer is allowing you to speak without challenging any of this, because it's all right there. These things are factual, and you should answer to those questions of why not.
It does show it, and how active you are. The only thing that happens now, though, that I feel doesn't work for you is if you have to wait now to fight, say, till March, that'll mean you've been out for a year and you haven't been inactive like that for a long time.
Yes.
And also, I think with all the naysayers around, I mean, it's brilliant you've explained it. They clarified what's going on. I don't think Eddie Hearn helped last night in an interview with IFL where he said, now you might fight Fury next. And it made everyone kind of assume, oh, he's just pulled out because it's Tyson Fury next, not Otto Wallin.
Absolutely. You see, even the interviewer put the statement out there to Whyte, nailed him to the board, okay? But he's offering him an out as well because he's saying it almost as arbitrarily. It's hypothetically a theorized situation where this might be what Hearn wants. It's definitely what Hearn wants. Who do you think you're talking to when you do these type of interviews and you set a guy up with the perfect question to be answered, but you give him an out by throwing someone else in there? And he, in this instance, is Eddie Hearn, okay? Well, Whyte doesn't talk about Hearn very much. We know that he's their lapdog, okay? But he speaks on his own until you give him an out and watch his response to it.
And he did say that yesterday. But if you do get Fury next and it happens to be March next year, presumably you go with that.
Yeah, of course. See, if you've got the real title, and that's what I've been waiting for, that's what I've worked for, and that's what, I've paid, I didn't know my sanctioning fees, I've paid towards the belt along with weight or patience. I could have easily abandoned this route and gone down another route like years ago, but I've waited and I've waited and I've waited and waited and I've pursued and delayed and waited. So what am I going to do? Obviously, after Wallin is handpicked cherry, obviously, fight after Wallin, I'll fight Tyson Fury. What are you going to do? It's common sense. But like I said, listen, I'm not scared of no one. I've not pulled out a fight before.
You're not scared of anyone, and you've not pulled out of a fight before. Does this or does this not sound like Hearn's dad and Matchroom have told him, look here, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. Because even though the fight is not taking place now between he and Otto Wallin, what's happening is the promotion. His name is out there. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day, isn't it? A promoter doing their job, putting the names out there. You don't even have to fight as long as they can give people a show of something, a showcase of something, but not the actual bout. You see the manipulations and the machinations that are happening in today's boxing? This is what is so revealing about these guys of today. And we need more people to come out who have platforms and condemn this manner of handling business. At the end of the day, this was a good fight, people. A very good fight. And it should take place. It's great for boxing. Whyte may defeat Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin may defeat him. We would never know until the two men get in the ring. But the thing is to see the match. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing, to see the matches take place. He'd rather be out for over a year sitting around against an opponent that may not even be there, Tyson Fury, for an opportunity of something he may not even win, the WBC title. You could have fought 4 times already. And we're not even going into the whole thing about the banned substances, okay? That's another video. But to talk to the people and be straight up and honest and sincere with them, this is all a ploy. They got his name active. The Wilder fight with Fury has wrapped. And now they want to just wait out that situation. No, man. I'm not falling for that one. Not falling for that at all. You got to get your butt in that ring and fight.
I wanted to fight.
Dillian, you can't do anything till early December now, as you're saying, right? So that's when you'll get back into using your upper body again. Should we be now waiting? Should pressure be applied to the WBC by everyone just to see what they're going to mandate, rather than them sit back and not do anything for a while?
I think they're going to mandate me versus Tyson Fury. They basically said it already. So it's already been mandated already, really. So we don't need to wait.
You see there? This is the ploy the whole time. Poor Otto Wallin. He should sue. He should go for a bag because he's been had. This is the ploy. This is what they've done. And let's not forget, Anthony Joshua has exercised his option for his rematch against Alexander Usyk. And that's not a gimme. It's no guarantee because Usyk is a good, if not great fighter. And he took it all away from AJ in a 12-round match that saw AJ out of his league. Period. So, do you think that Dillian Whyte could defeat Alexander Usyk? No. But he has a history with Tyson Fury in the gym. They've had some battles, and rumor has it he's dropped Fury on more than one occasion in the gym. But those kind of things happen in the gym. It's a different fight when you're live and under the lights. And let's not forget, since both of you practice taking banned substances, Tyson Fury will be more than prepared to deal with Dillian Whyte if they had to do it live under the lights. Huh? Think about it. This guy is really a person who should not have spoken publicly because he told on himself.
We need a date, though, don't we? We need a date. I know there's 30 days, but we need a date.
Well, obviously, that's for me and his team to sort out at the end of the day. After he just fought, we don't know when he wants the rest. We don't know what Tyson Fury is going to do. He might just tomorrow just said, "Yeah, that's it, I'm done." He might go missing. He might disappear. You don't know. So
we have to get him quick. Get him quick.
Well, we was ready before this fight. He's pulled out 2 fights to me before. If you remember, he mandated to fight me twice before, and he's pulled out. So I can't.
Vegas, Dillian. Vegas, Wembley Stadium, O2 Arena.
I wanted to be in the UK, man. It's a massive. That's a UK fight. Vegas is great. I love to go to Vegas and fight, but that's a British fight. That's.
Why not go to Vegas, Dillian Whyte? You need to expand your horizons, huh? Staying over there under the coat of the Hearns family. This is what I talked about early in this video of him being a placeholder. See, placeholders do those kind of things. I go where boss tell me to go. I do what boss tell me to do. But at the end of the day, what you should be doing is facing Otto Wallin. And I'll tell you, the reason why he's not is simply in this clip here that you see. What Povetkin did to him, a number of heavyweights could do to him. It's not out of the question. And Otto Wallin is only 30. Only 30 years old. So he has time. But Dillian, the clock is ticking on you, bruh. You know why? Because you've had the battles with substances being banned. Huh? You've also been in there with guys who are aging. Huh? You've had advantages. You've had glove manipulation. Huh? The whole Oscar Rivas fight. What was going on there? You and Joseph Parker. What was going on there? There are things that people should pay attention to when you talk about these fighters of today. And for me, all I want to see is the proper bouts take place. If this fight couldn't happen now and Whyte's injury is legitimate, 6 weeks he needs to rest, heal up, and prepare himself. Well, getting back in there to go for this fight and give the people what they deserve to see originally should be the next move. Not just pass right on to Tyson Fury. But you can tell what they're doing. They're setting it all up, people. And you shouldn't be happy about this at all. Expose these folks for who and what they really are at the end of the day. They're frauds. Okay? They're frauds. And it's something that is really ugly in the sport of boxing. Terribly ugly. Huh? So, at the end of the day, you could see that Dillian Whyte, the people that are running his camp, his career, they're doing these things because they don't want him to be upset. They want him to be able to maintain that placeholder status, and they want to get that shot at the title. They want that shot. And Dillian Whyte at this time is their last hope. That's not a hell of a lot to hang your hat on, is it? It really isn't. But at the end of the day, the truth is what it is. This is Stormy B Man. First of all, let me say shout out to the LDBC, the Lions Den boxing community, and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think about hearing the words come straight from the mouth of Dillian Whyte. This is all I have for you at this time. Until the next time we meet, peace, and everyone remain safe.